Hello there, children. Do you love going to the water park? Well, my name is Sevy, and I'm here to ruin your fun by telling you all about the different diseases that can potentially kill you this summer. So without further ado, here are 8 diseases you can get from amusement parks. Today, to help me illustrate the effects of these diseases, I've enlisted the help of little Billy here. Say hi, Billy. How do you feel about dying today? Good boy. There's even a category for these types of diseases. RWIs, which stands for recreational water illnesses. First on the list is Shigella. Closely related to Ecoli, symptoms start about a day or two after being exposed to the bacteria. You'll start to feel cramping in the stomach, fever, and diarrhea. The fun thing about it is that you'll never know when you'll actually need to drop a deuce, precisely because your bowels will trick you into thinking you want to, even though you've already crapped out everything you possibly could. Symptoms usually last 4 to 5 days, but residual symptoms can last weeks. Sometimes it takes up to several months before your poop chute is back to normal. Next is Giardia. This cute little guy can survive up to 45 minutes in a well-treated pool. It causes lots of gas, stomach cramps, greasy floating stools, and of course, diarrhea. Sometimes it'll even cause itchy skin and hives. Also, just when it starts to clear up after a few days or weeks, it'll be like, just kidding, and come right back to you. At its most severe, Giardiasis can retard physical and mental growth in children. Isn't that lovely? Next is Cryptosporidium. Crypto is the most common RWI because it's very resilient. You thought Giardia was a boss? Well, if someone has diarrhea with crypto in it and decides to go swimming for some reason, it can spread quickly and stay in the water for even days in a well-disinfected pool. If you swallow even a tiny amount of water with crypto, it can cause 2 to 3 weeks of diarrhea, cramps, fever, and vomiting. Legionnaires disease. Legionnaires disease is a form of pneumonia. Just by breathing in mist contaminated with the bacteria can get you sick. Symptoms include coughing, fever, chills, headaches, muscle aches, and shortness of breath. If you aren't among the 10% the disease kills, you may experience long-term persistent fatigue or neurological symptoms. Disneyland saw an outbreak of Legionnaires disease in 2017 just from their cooling towers. Next on the list is Naegleria fowleri. I hope I'm saying this right. Naegleria fowleri, or the brain-eating amoeba. Can't drink this, but you sure can inhale it. It has a survival rate of about 1%, just as you'd expect from something called a brain-eating amoeba. They are phagocytes, meaning they will eat your blood cells in one swift gulp. Symptoms include stiff neck, confusion, problems paying attention, clumsiness, seizures, hallucinations, and more. Death usually happens after 2 weeks of symptoms appearing. You doing okay there, Billy? Another thing you can catch from amusement parks is Hepatitis A. Hepatitis A is basically inflammation of the liver. Symptoms include fever, fatigue, diarrhea, loss of appetite, dark brown urine, liver pain, and jaundice. While you'll probably be okay eventually, the fun part about hepatitis A is that it takes 1 to 2 months to clear up. The good news is, if you catch it once, you'll never catch it again. So maybe you could stand to live with a little yellow skin for a while. Or just vaccinate, that seems to help too. It can also be contracted by contaminated food and shellfish, and sexual contact of the anal variety. So remember, kids, don't poke the chocolate hole. Next up is E. coli. E. coli has a pretty bad rap, but what if I told you that you have E. coli right now? People normally associate it with bad food, but you can also get this by swimming in infected water. There are many strains of E. coli, some of them which live in your gut with no problem. But there are other strains that hate your guts and do a pretty good job of letting you know. It can cause nausea, vomiting, fever, bright red bloody stools, and it can also shut down your kidneys, particularly if you're a young kid or an older person. The CDC found that 70% of public pools and 66% of water parks contain evidence of E. coli bacteria. Last and least, really, because I didn't write much about it, is the Norovirus, otherwise known as the Norwalk virus. Symptoms include nausea, fever, vomiting, muscle pain, and surprise, diarrhea. This usually lasts about 2 to 3 days and generally clears up on its own. but it still causes almost 600 to 800 deaths per year in the United States alone. Well, that's it for today. There were even more diseases I could have talked about, but it's actually quite a challenge to make diarrhea-inducing bacteria cute. I'm Sevy and thank you for learning with me today. I'd like to invite you to click the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, in memory of Billy. Until next time.